Hundreds of Cosatu members and affiliated unions are marching on Parliament in Cape Town. The march ahead of the budget speech tomorrow is to highlight the plight of workers and the economic constraints they face. Cosatu is calling for, among other things, the scrapping of the 1% value-added tax increase that was announced last year. Cosatu says the 1% VAT increase translates to 7% in real terms, as it affects all aspects of life. The strike is also to protest against job losses and privatizations. The protesters say the VAT increase is stifling the economy. The march in the province was postponed to coincide with the budget vote tomorrow.
The intention of having the march today is to put pressure on the Minister of Finance to reverse the decision of the 1% increase of last year. We also want the Minister to create more jobs in the industry, because ultimately it's the poorest of the poor that will be affected by that 1%. They are already affected for close to a year, because if you convert the 1%, it's really 7% that workers are confronted with. Everything goes up, from water, electricity, food, school, clothing, etc. And it's really a blow to the poorest of the poor. What they should have done, they should have increased the wealth tax, they should have increased company tax, etc. And that's where they can generate more revenue and for service delivery. And also look at the issue of, you must also come tomorrow with plans on the issue of the mess that ESCOM is currently confronted with.
For more on this, we cross to our reporter Mariska Botha in Cape Town. Good afternoon, Mariska. Talk to us about what the main demands were and what that protest looked like.
Good afternoon to you. Yes, there were several hundreds of people here marching in unison, and they say this is actually a workers' class march, as they dubbed it, because they say the issues they are protesting about affects the everyman on the street, not the wealthy. As you were saying there in your introduction, that they say the 1% in VAT increase translates to 7% in real terms, because we're talking about the increase in electricity, in water, in food, in everything that everybody needs on a daily basis. I'm standing at the gates of Parliament, where just a little while ago the memorandum was handed over to the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. But among their demands are, one of the main ones that stood out for me is what they call a shift towards a labour-absorbing growth path. They are completely opposed to the kind of retrenchments we're seeing. They are against privatisation. They're saying the proposed unbundling of ESCOM will lead to further job losses. They are also calling for independent power producers, that agreement to be scrapped. They're saying all energy production should be owned by government, in that way trying to save jobs. They are also calling on government tomorrow to scrap the 1% VAT increase that they announced last year, and they're saying that the government must really take heed of how people on the ground are suffering. Also saying, among others, that workers are becoming poorer and poorer every year as the economic demands on them increase. Now, as I said, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Lesetja Tsenodi, accepted the memorandum, and he actually lauded the protesters, saying that they are keeping Parliament honest in the work that they must do. And they said he encouraged people to express their rights as citizens, to protest and speak out about the issues that affects their daily lives, because the work in Parliament is directly affected by how people live on the ground. And he also encouraged people to make their voices heard in the coming election in a few months' time.
Mariska, did the workers say what's going to happen if those demands are not met come budget?
No, they didn't indicate to us what would happen if those demands are not met, but they did indicate they would want to see from government a structured plan in tomorrow's budget vote that would help in creating more jobs instead of shedding jobs. So definitely the emphasis is for people to keep their jobs and earn better salaries to make better livings. We can only expect that people will in future express more of their concerns as life becomes more difficult for people. So we could maybe expect more of these protest marches should conditions not improve for people, and as we see more people being laid off.
Mariska Botha, thanks for that update coming to us from Cape Town, where that Cosatu march took place.